From the moment he was born, I loved my brother Leo more than anything in the world. I was 7 years old when I first held him, and I promised myself I would always protect him, always be there for him, always love him no matter what. For 40 years, I kept that promise. Through our parents' divorce, through his troubled teenage years, through every crisis and celebration, I was there. But somewhere along the way, he started to hate me. He said I was suffocating him, controlling him, trying to live my life through him. He cut me off completely. I had to learn to let go. I had to learn to forget him. And then one day he came back. Hello, welcome to Hurt Stories. Let me tell you about the moment my life changed forever. I was 7 years old when my mother came home from the hospital with a tiny bundle in her arms. She laid him in my lap, so small, so fragile, so perfect, and said, "Florence, this is your brother. His name is Leo. You're going to protect him now." I looked down at this tiny creature, this perfect little person, and something shifted inside me. A door opened. A love was born that I didn't know I was capable of. I was 7 years old, and I already knew I would die for this baby. I would do anything for him. I would love him forever. And I did. For 40 years, I loved Leo with everything I had. I was the one who rocked him to sleep when he cried. I was the one who taught him to ride a bike, who helped him with his homework, who defended him when the neighborhood kids were mean. I was the one who held him when our parents fought, who whispered that everything would be okay, who made him feel safe in a world that was often terrifying. Our parents' divorce when Leo was 10 was devastating for him. He was young, sensitive, confused. He didn't understand why Daddy was leaving, why Mommy was crying all the time, why nothing felt stable anymore. But I was there. I was always there. I remember one night about a year after the divorce. Leo had a nightmare, a bad one. He came to my room shaking, crying, unable to speak. I pulled him into my bed and held him until he stopped shaking. I told him, "Leo, I will never leave you, never. No matter what happens, you'll always have me." He looked up at me with those big, trusting eyes and said, "Promise?" I said, "Promise, forever and ever." I meant it. I meant every word. Leo's teenage years were hard, really hard. He was angry at our parents, at the world, at himself. He acted out, got in trouble, pushed everyone away. Our mother didn't know how to handle him. Our father was mostly absent. But I was there. I was always there. I remember the night he got arrested for vandalism. He was 16, drunk, stupid, scared. He called me from the police station, his voice shaking, and said, "Flo, I'm in trouble. I don't know what to do." I drove there immediately. I talked to the officers, arranged for a lawyer, brought him home. I didn't yell at him. I didn't lecture him. I just held him and said, "It's okay. We'll figure it out together." He cried in my arms that night. He said, "Why do you always do this? Why do you always save me?" I said, "Because you're my brother. Because I love you, because that's what family does." I thought he understood. I thought he knew that my love was unconditional, that I would never judge him, never abandon him, never stop being there. But looking back now, I wonder if my love felt heavy to him, if my constant presence felt like pressure, if my devotion felt like a cage. I didn't know then. I just loved him. I didn't know that love could be too much. We grew up. We became adults with our own lives, our own paths. I got married, had children, built a life. Leo went to college, started a career, found his own way. We didn't see each other as often, but we talked regularly. I thought we were close, but something was shifting. I could feel it even if I couldn't name it. Leo started pulling away. He'd miss calls, forget to return texts, cancel plans at the last minute. When we did talk, he was short, distracted, eager to get off the phone. He'd say he was busy, stressed, overwhelmed. I understood life is hard. I gave him space. Then the comments started. Little things at first. He'd say, "Flo, you don't need to call me every week. I'm fine." He'd say, You don't have to worry about me so much. I'm not a kid anymore." He'd say, "Sometimes it feels like you're trying to live your life through me, like you don't have your own thing going on." I was hurt, but I tried not to show it. I told myself he was just stressed, just going through something, just being a typical busy adult. I pulled back, gave him more space, tried to be less present. It wasn't enough. The break happened on a Tuesday night. I remember because it was my birthday and Leo had promised to come for dinner. I cooked his favorite meal, lasagna, the way our grandmother used to make it. I set the table with care, lit candles, waited. 7 o'clock passed. 8 o'clock passed. 9 o'clock came, and still no Leo. I called him, no answer. I texted, no response. I waited another hour, then finally ate alone, the lasagna cold, the candles burned down. At midnight, my phone rang. It was Leo. I picked up, relieved. "Leo, are you okay? What happened?" His voice was cold, colder than I'd ever heard it. He said, "I'm not coming, Flo. I'm not coming to your birthday. I'm not coming to anything anymore." I didn't understand. I said, "What? Why? What's wrong?" He said, You're what's wrong. You're always there, always calling, always checking in. It's suffocating. I can't breathe. I need space. I need you to leave me alone." I tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. He kept going. "You think you're helping, but you're not. You're controlling. You're manipulating. You act like you love me, but really you just want to own me. Well, I'm done. I don't want you in my life anymore." He hung up. I sat there, holding the phone, staring at nothing. My brother, my Leo. The baby I'd held in my arms, the boy I'd protected, the man I'd loved unconditionally. He didn't want me anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat for days. I walked through my life like a ghost, going through the motions, but inside I was hollow. The person I loved most in the world had rejected me completely. The months that followed were the darkest of my life. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. I was too ashamed, too hurt, too broken. I told my husband that Leo was busy, that we were taking a break, that everything was fine. It wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. I replayed that conversation over and over, looking for clues, for understanding. Had I been too much, too present, too loving? Was my love really suffocating? Was I really controlling? I went to therapy. I needed to understand. My therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Margaret, listened to my story and asked a question that stopped me cold. She said, "Florence, do you think Leo's perception of you is accurate? Or do you think he's projecting his own issues onto your love?" I didn't know. I still don't know completely. But it made me think. It made me wonder if Leo's rejection was more about him than about me. If his need to push me away was really about his own struggles, his own fears, his own need to prove he was independent. It didn't make the pain less, but it made it more bearable. After a year of silence, I made a decision. I couldn't keep waiting for him to come back. I couldn't keep hopping, keep checking my phone, keep living in a state of suspended grief. I had to let him go. I had to forget him. I deleted his number. I blocked him on social media. I put away the photos, the mementos, the reminders. I stopped asking mutual friends about him. I stopped waiting for him to call. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than any loss, any grief, any pain. Because I wasn't just losing him, I was choosing to lose him. I was choosing to stop loving him, or at least to stop showing it. I focused on my own life. My husband, my children, my friends. I threw myself into work, into hobbies, into things that brought me joy. I learned to be present in my own life instead of always worrying about his. Slowly, painfully, I started to heal. 3 years passed. 3 years of silence. I didn't know where Leo was, what he was doing, if he was okay. I heard things occasionally, through mutual friends, through family gossip. He'd moved away, changed jobs, had some struggles, but I didn't reach out. I couldn't. I had to protect myself. I thought about him often, every birthday, every holiday, every moment that reminded me of him. I wondered if he was happy. I wondered if he ever thought about me. I wondered if he regretted what he'd said. But I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't reach out. I had made a decision, and I stuck to it. My therapist said I was doing the right thing. She said sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is give someone the space they need, even if it breaks your heart. I tried to believe her. Some days I did, some days I didn't. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon, 3 years and 2 months after that terrible birthday night. I was in the garden planting roses, something Leo had always loved. My phone rang. I almost didn't answer. It was an unknown number. But something made me pick up. A voice I hadn't heard in 3 years said, "Flo." My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. I said, "Leo." He was crying. I could hear it in his voice. He said, "Flo, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I sat down on the grass, right there in the garden, and listened. He talked for an hour. He told me everything. The years of struggle, the bad decisions, the people who'd taken advantage of him. He told me about the woman who'd convinced him I was controlling, who'd fed his anger, who'd isolated him from everyone who loved him. He told me about the slow realization that she was wrong, that I was never the enemy, that he'd pushed away the one person who truly loved him. He said, "I was so stupid, Flo. I was so blind. You were the only one who ever really loved me, and I threw it away." I didn't say much. I just listened. I cried. I let him talk until he had nothing left to say. Then I said, "Leo, where are you?" He told me. He was in a city 3 hours away, alone, broke, trying to put his life back together. I said, "I'm coming to get you." I drove 3 hours without stopping. My hands shook on the wheel, my heart pounded in my chest. I didn't know what I'd find, what I'd say, what he'd look like. I just knew I had to go. I found him at a cheap motel, sitting on the curb outside his room. He looked terrible, thin, tired, broken, but he was alive. He was there. He was my brother. I got out of the car. He stood up. We looked at each other for a long moment, neither of us moving. Then he walked toward me and I walked toward him, and we met in the middle and held each other and cried. He said, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean any of it. I was wrong. I was so wrong." I said, I know, it's okay. I'm here." We stood there for a long time, holding each other, letting the years of pain and separation melt away. It wasn't easy. It wasn't instant, but it was real. The healing took time, a long time. Leo moved back to our city, got an apartment near me, started rebuilding his life. He went to therapy, got a good job, made new friends. And slowly, carefully, we rebuilt our relationship. We talked a lot, about everything. About the years of silence, about the woman who turned him against me, about his struggles and my pain. We were honest in ways we'd never been before. He told me he'd always felt like he was in my shadow, like he could never live up to my love, my devotion, my constant presence. He said my love felt like pressure, like expectation, like he could never be enough. I told him I never meant it that way. I told him I loved him unconditionally, without expectation, without judgment. I told him my love was never about what he could do for me, it was just about who he was. We learned to love each other differently. Less intensely, maybe, more respectfully, with space and boundaries and mutual understanding. I stopped hovering. He stopped running. We found a balance that worked for both of us. It wasn't the same as before. It was better. I've thought a lot about what happened, about the love that drove him away and the love that brought him back. Here's what I've learned. Love can be too much. Even the purest, most unconditional love can feel heavy if it's not given with respect for the other person's autonomy. I loved Leo so much that I forgot to let him breathe. I was so focused on protecting him that I didn't see I was smothering him. But his rejection wasn't entirely about me. It was about his own journey, his own need to become his own person. He had to push me away to find himself. And once he found himself, he could come back. I don't blame him anymore. I don't blame myself anymore. We were both doing our best with what we knew. We both made mistakes. We both hurt each other. But underneath all of it, the love was always there. It never went away. It was just buried under layers of pain and misunderstanding. So here we are. Me at 50, Leo at 43. We've been through hell and back, and we're still here. Still siblings. Still family. Still loving each other, but differently now. We have dinner together every Sunday. Sometimes just us, sometimes with our families. We laugh about old times, talk about new times, sit in comfortable silence when we don't feel like talking. He's my brother. He's my friend. He's back. Last Sunday, we were sitting on my porch watching the sunset. He turned to me and said, "Flo, do you remember when I was little and I used to have nightmares? You'd always let me sleep in your bed." I nodded. "I remember." He said, "You told me you'd never leave me. You promised." I said, "I kept my promise. I never left. I just had to wait for you to come back." He smiled. He said, "I'm sorry it took me so long." I said, "You're here now. That's all that matters." I loved my brother more than anything. He hated me for a while. He pushed me away, cut me off, broke my heart. I had to learn to let him go, to forget him, to live my life without him. But he came back. He realized that my love was real, that I was the one who truly loved him. And now we have something better than we had before. Something harder one, more deeply understood, more precious for having been almost lost. If you're listening to this and someone you love has pushed you away, a sibling, a child, a friend, hear me. Don't give up. But don't chase. Love them enough to let them go. Give them the space they need to find themselves. Be there quietly, steadily, so that when they're ready, they know where to find you. They may not come back. Some people never do. But if they do, you'll be there. And that love, the love that survived separation, that survived rejection, that survived everything, that love is the strongest love of all. I loved my brother more than anything. He hated me, so I decided to forget him. But he realized I was the one who truly loved him. And now we're closer than ever. Because love that survives is love that matters. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear more story like this, please like the video and subscribe the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notified.